One of the hardest parts about fibromyalgia, it's not the symptoms. It's about how it changes how you see yourself, how others around you see you. And this shift doesn't just happen in one place. It happens in a multitude of situations that show up throughout your entire life. Welcome to Holistic Fibromyalgia Journeys. This is a space of understanding, honesty, and learning to live with fibromyalgia. I hope you're having one of your better days. You're still in the right place. So let's start with cultural identity. In our lives, we are taught from childhood that we need to be productive. We go through school, and it's all about getting good grades. It's about completing assignments. It's about learning. And all of this is so we can go into the workforce later in life and be a productive part of society. However, when your body decides that this is not something that you're going to be able to do in the way everybody else is supposed to do it, it feels like you don't fit in anymore. It feels like you're in a cultural nomad's land. No matter how you look at it, even before someone says anything, you already have the pressure to perform in a way that our cultures have deemed it necessary. When it comes to our social identity, we've also built that from childhood, whether we be an introvert, an extrovert. We've made friends over our years on this earth. But the diagnosis of fibromyalgia shifts that social identity. Not because you want it to, but because others around you may not be able to see yourself the way you do. It may be that you stop attending social gatherings because the social situations cause too much pressure in you, whether it be possibly you get looks of pity, of people not knowing what to do with you. And we've all dealt with it. Going to the store, if you're using something that you look young, but you're using the carts, you get the stares. I know, I've dealt with them. And I've learned to ignore them because what these people think is not who you are. But at the same time, it makes you think and look at yourself in a much different way. We are taught that we have to work. But when your body says, no, you can't, that removes an identity that either you've worked really hard for. Say, like if you've gone to school, you've become what is typically supposed to be a businessman, a doctor, a lawyer. And yet you come down with fibromyalgia and just trying to do these types of jobs really destroys what you can do. This is another form of identity. It's our work identity. And when we lose it, we lose another piece of ourselves. When it comes to dealing with doctors, there are so many that people do not realize that do not believe in the diagnosis of fibromyalgia. The World Health Organization only declared it an illness in 1992. And there are doctors out there who still refuse to deal with it. I've gone to pain management doctors, and they told me because my diagnosis with fibromyalgia, they would not work with me. You would think somebody who is in pain management would, but they said because they can't fix it, they won't work with me. What part of that makes sense? Because God knows it doesn't, it's never made sense to me. I mean, this is exactly what they're supposed to be here for, but because they can't fix it, it's not even worth their time. And so you learn to become your own medical advocate through research and through looking for the right doctor. You're going to go through a lot of bad ones. It's just like dating. You got to weed out the bad doctors to find one that will work with you instead of against you. When you're dealing with things like the government, have you ever tried applying for disability? If you have, you know how big of a problem that is, especially if you're on the younger side. I can't tell you the battles I had with the government to get on disability when I was 27. And I was lucky. Mine only took 3 years. I've known people that it's taken over 10. No matter when you have to go in and constantly fight about trying to get the help you need, because dealing with the government, they make you repeat things so often that you become a broken record. And then they always ask you for deeper details, and you have to give them, otherwise you're going to fail. It makes you start doubting exactly who and what you are, because you don't want to be that burden on the system. And yet, if you don't, how are you going to survive? Normally, it's by relying on other people. When you also think about it, your family dynamics change. Maybe you were a housewife, maybe you were a house husband, you were taking care of the kids, you were taking care of all the bills while your partner goes out and works. Or maybe you live in a 2-income household and you lose that extra income because you're not able to work anymore. Your partner may decide or feel like so much is on them and all that stress, and some of them will take them out on you. And even if they don't, you will take it out on yourself because you no longer feel like you're contributing. It can destroy, well, frankly, it has destroyed many of our relationships. I know it destroyed my relationship in the beginning because he could not handle watching the pain. And I couldn't handle giving it to him. It changed my personality. And I'm sure when you think back on it, think about what you were like before and what you're like now. Are you more likely to be snappish? Are you more likely to be distant? All of this builds into accumulation of self-doubt, loss of self-esteem, loss of self-worth, and a loss of your personal identity. And when you consider what that does to your own mindset, is it any wonder that so many of us feel like we're a burden on everybody else around us? And yes, I felt that. And all of this comes down to an internal struggle you have. You don't want the label of being disabled, of being ill, of being a burden, and the label of being worthless. However, with each one of these shifts, it slowly erodes your self-esteem until it puts you into a place that you don't want to be. However, your identity doesn't disappear. It simply shifts. And your choice is how you want it to shift. Understanding what changes you do have to deal with and learning how to direct that shift is an extremely important lesson you need to learn. Every single type of identity we deal with has to change. And if you want it to be positive, then you've got to learn to accept that you're different. And if the people around you can't accept that, then why are you with them? If they're strangers, ignore them. They have no say in what and who you are. You can only be who you are. And one of the things you've got to do is you've got to protect that mental mindset, because if you don't, it makes your symptoms worse. In future episodes, I am going to delve more deeply into each of these types of identities, because they're not simple topics. What they are is something that is very deep and internalized, and it has to do with how you deal with the world around you. They deserve the time to go into them in detail. I'm curious, which types of identities has been most affected by the fibromyalgia? I hope that some of what I'm saying makes you feel like you've been seen. And if so, I hope you're willing to subscribe, join this community, and maybe find others who feel the same thing you do. If you could please leave a like, maybe leave a comment, and answer my question in a single word or in depth. This community only grows if people are willing to accept others have the same issues. I hope you have a good day. It gets to be one of your better days. Have a good evening. These episodes are based on my own personal lived experience. They're built on my own personal research. They are not medical advice. If you find you need medical advice, please see your physician and use it to guide your own research.